Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, this is MLS Ireland does predictions on week 30. We're getting there, stay tuned. Perfect, thank you very much for joining me. Yes, this is MLS Ireland, my name is Sean, and if you're new to this, hit that subscribe button. It would mean quite a lot to me. I'm trying to see if I can get to 250 before the end of the season. That would be pretty cool. Before the MLS Cup perhaps, anyway, but I don't know, I hope it happens anyway, God knows. Okay, there was 4 games during the week, or last weekend, even though there was internationals on. The internationals were just basically finished last night. Congratulations to the US and the Canadians. Congratulations to Ireland for beating, Qatar, who are above them in the it's a pretty tricky result, but they got the win at the end of the day, so all is good. So yep, these are my predictions, as I said. So let's go. The first one is Montreal against Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia actually played during the week there. Last weekend it was against Cincinnati away from home, and they won 2-1, and their last home game was against Columbus Crew. So coming into this one away from home, they did win their last one, but then they drew and then lost their last 2, whereas Montreal won their last home game. They're probably having a bit of a better record than Philadelphia at the moment. They beat Atlanta 2-1, and their last home game before that they got beat by New England, which was okay. You can probably suggest that would happen. Then they beaten Chicago Fire. So coming up against the Philadelphia team, who aren't all that great at home at this moment in time. Montreal have that home record coming into this one. I did think it was going to be a tight one. I went for like a 1-1. Just these two teams are kind of, Philadelphia have the capability of winning. I think now they're getting Aronson kind of more into the game, and he's starting to show his worth. So enjoy him while you still have him, Philadelphia fans, because he's going to be gone by next year. But anyway, coming up against the Montreal team, who I do think probably get a good result in this one, but I went for a 1-1. So that's my prediction on that one. The next one is LAFC against San Jose Earthquakes. Now LAFC, who started off the season okay, then they basically dropped. Then they kind of started getting a wee bit of a couple of wins under the belt with good performances. Anyway, then they just basically fell. Got beat by Portland, then they got beat by New Jersey. Got beat by San Jose Earthquakes 2-0 when they're away from home. San Jose over home, sorry. Then they got beaten by Portland. Then they got drew with LA Galaxy 1-0, which was a pretty good result, all things considered. Even though LA Galaxy are now slowly going down. Anyway, regardless, now they're coming up against a San Jose Earthquakes team again. So when you kind of put in this kind of into this mind thought of what goes through my head, LAFC have a better results form record at home, whereas San Jose Earthquakes, they have a better record. No, LAFC's haven't got a really great record. I think it's going to be definitely a season to forget. They still probably can make it into the playoffs, but I don't think they deserve it. So saying that, I actually went for an LAFC win, 2-1. I do think they have the capabilities of winning. Of course, they have the capabilities of winning. I think they bloody won the MLS Cup there not so long ago, 2 years ago. So you would suspect them to win this one, really. So I went for like a 2-1. It could possibly go for a draw, so don't really quote me on this one, because this one's all over the place. These two teams are not all that great in great form at the moment. So that's what I went for. The next one is Columbus Crew against Inter. Now, Columbus Crew, coming into this one, have won out of the last 4. They've won 3 of their last at home, which is pretty impressive, even though they haven't played at home much all that season. They beat New York Red Bulls and Columbus Crew. Now they're coming up against an Inter Miami team who they already got beaten by 1-0 about a month ago. So coming into this one, Inter Miami lost their last game. They've lost their last 3 home games. I know Inter Miami actually kind of lost by the 1 goal, but in the last in all home and away, they kind of haven't really won a game either. They've all kind of got lost by the 1 goal, apart from the Nashville when they got beat, and the New York Red Bull when they got beaten by 4, basically. But coming up against the Columbus Crew team, I actually think Columbus Crew can actually get a good result in this one. I went for like a 2-0 win. I think Columbus Crew, this is probably where a game where they can get their confidence back. They're not going to make the playoffs, I don't think. But this is probably where a game they can probably get it. I do think Inter Miami will try and push more into this one, which I think will just leave them more frustrated. Will leave Higuain more frustrated, and then kind of do stupid stuff, and then kind of rush it, and then they'll basically just play into the Crew's hands. The next one is New England Revolution against Chicago Fire. Now, New England, who are top against the team who were bottom not so long ago, Chicago Fire. New England at home, they've only lost one game, which is pretty impressive, and they drew 2 and won 11, where Chicago Fire have won 1, drew 1, and lost 11. So you can see where this one's going. Chicago lost their last 4 away games, and New England kind of haven't lost a home game in the last 4. So coming into this one, I went for a 3-1 win. I think Chicago Fire can get a goal. They're capable of getting goals, but I think their defense at the moment is not great, and New England are just too far superior for them, and probably get the one in this one. So I went for like a 3-1 win. I do think they're going to win comfortably. The next one is New England against Nashville. Now, DC United against Nashville. It's been a long week. DC United against Nashville. DC United actually coming into a bit of a good form. They've won their last 4 games at home, whereas Nashville have only won the 1. Again, Nashville are capable of getting a good draw in these kind of games. They drew 7 away from home. I don't think DC United have not drew a game at home. But coming into this one, DC United got beat by Montreal there 2 weeks ago. Against Montreal, sorry. Orlando. They got beat by Orlando, Sean. Jesus Christ. And then they beat Minnesota at home, beat Cincinnati, and then beat Chicago Fire at home. But then they got all that kind of stuff. So I went for like a 2-1 win to DC United. I do think Paul Arriola and Alan Kenner's coming back, probably in good form from the US men's international team. When I say good form, is they didn't really play anybody big, if that makes any sense. I know they got beat by Palmana, but should have really kind of won that game. So that's kind of like, So yeah, I went for like a 2-1 win on that one. The next one is FC Cincinnati against Orlando City. It is a trickier one. Orlando kind of basically just slightly hit the panic button. I know they beat DC United 2-1 there last 2 weeks ago, but then they drew against Nashville. They got beat by New England. They got beat by Philadelphia, and then they got beat by Atlanta in the last 4 away games. And then Cincinnati haven't really been that great at home either. So I kind of went for a 1-0 win to Orlando. They're just a better team. I think this one's kind of... They're trying to get into the playoffs, cement their place. I think they're going to try and defend better this one, because I know the Cincinnati may not score goals. So if they had any sense, they'll probably go for an easy 1-0. So that's the kind of game that you suspect Orlando to probably play, but no, they're Orlando really. Next one is Toronto against Atlanta. Now Toronto, who are, I want to say, on a rich reign of form. In the last 3 home games, they've actually won 3. That was against Nashville, Cincinnati, and Chicago Fire. They got beat by Colorado Rapids, basically, out their last away game. But then, they got beat by Inter. And then after that kind of game, they started showing a bit more resolve. They knew that the whole game was over, so they basically just went, okay, we'll play. Just basically play with no fear. Don't know why it took them so long. But anyway, they're coming up against an Atlanta team who I think are kind of coming into a good wee bit of form too. Away from home, they've lost their last 2 away games. That was against Philadelphia and Montreal. But I think they're coming up against a team who are in a bit of a good wee form, but are beatable. So what did I go for? Where did I went for like a 1-1 draw. Just think these 2 teams are good, but they're probably just going to... Their goals will score goals, but I think the 2 teams are kind of... will even each other out, kind of. So I'll go for like a 1-1 on that one. I'll go for the next one is Houston Dynamo against the Seattle Sounders. Now Houston, in their last 8 home and away, they've kind of only won 2, and that was against Houston and Dallas. So that was basically against Austin and Dallas. Houston's already playing Houston, you know what I mean. Whereas Seattle beat Vancouver with their good players, and they're doing very, 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 very well. Let's see, they are away from home. And their record away from home is not too bad. In the last 4, they only lost to 1, which is pretty good. That was against Real Salt Lake. They beat a few good teams in there, Sporting Kansas City and San Jose, I suppose. So I'll go for like a 2-1 win to Seattle. I know they got their players back, so they should have a good wee game in this one. I think they are capable of conceding a stupid goal, so I'll go for Houston will get a goal in this one, so I'll go for like a 2-1. It could possibly be a bit more for Seattle, but I think this one at Houston at home will probably be a bit more more fight into them, but still probably lose. So I'll go for like a 2-1. The next one is Austin against Minnesota. Austin are third from bottom, winning. Their last 2 home games, that was against LA Galaxy and Real Salt Lake, which is pretty good for them. But then they lost the last 2 after that, where Minnesota hasn't won a game in the last 4 away from home. But still, Minnesota are still a very good team. They beat LA Galaxy and Houston at home, but then they lost their last 3. So coming into this one, actually I went for like a 1-0. I do think Austin are now starting to find their feet. Now, will they buy a big striker and basically do the stupid thing, or will they actually do like a Nashville and actually get a good defender? God knows next season, but it'll be a bit interesting to see. If you're an Austin fan, let me know what you would prefer. I would love to even get over to a game too, because that would look class. But they're coming up against Minnesota, another team, another country, city that I would like to visit. The stadium looks pretty cool. Stadium's looking pretty cool at the moment, apart from New York City, who they don't really have a stadium. But still, I'll go for in this one. I went for like a 1-0, so Austin, Minnesota, 2 teams will probably even each other out in this one, so I'll go for I'll stick with a 1-1. And the next one is Real Salt Lake against Colorado Rapids. Now I was looking at this earlier on. Real Salt Lake haven't lost a game in the have won their last 4, whereas Colorado Rapids have only won the 2 away from home. Real Salt Lake at home are starting to play well, but they got beat by Austin away from home, which is not a great result. Then they got stuffed by Portland away from home, and that was like a 6-1. Now they're coming up against a team who are not bad on the road. What did I go for? I went for a 2-2 draw. I do think that these 2 teams can score. The 2 teams will be up for it. I think these 2 teams kind of need to start getting into the playoffs and stating themselves there. I know Colorado Rapids probably have a better chance of staying in there, but I think Real Salt Lake are going to start playing a bit more, because they're 5th in the league, but their position isn't really set in stone. So I do think they're going to have a go at it, and then probably it's going to have a good go at it and go for like a 2-2 on that one. The next one is Galaxy against Portland Timbers. Now, Portland Timbers are probably one of the strangest teams in MLS at the moment. They have, in the last 8, haven't lost a game. Now they're coming up against the LA Galaxy team who haven't won a game. Let me see. Yeah, they haven't won a game. They've drew 3 and lost 3 in the last home and away games. At home, haven't won a game. Portland in the last 4 1-allers. So I'll go for a Portland 2-1 win. They're just a far better team. I don't know what happened. I blame Merrick. They're starting to play a lot better. I think they're coming into this. They're doing the Seattle basically. They start off slowly, find their feet, and then just basically walk over everybody. There is a capability. I think they can probably make it into the. They'll definitely be in the playoffs. They're just probably not going to get top of the West. I think they started off a wee bit too slow. I'll go for like a 2-1 on that one. The next one is New York Red Bull against New York City FC, a Hudson River Derby, as the kids say. Now, every time these 2 played, I've always kind of went for a New York City FC win. It's never came about. I think New York Red Bull have their number this season. New York Red Bull at home, whereas New York City will be playing away from home, but in a stadium that they have called home. So it's like the San Siro. I kind of want to look for a 1-0. I think Red Bulls have the capability of winning this game, as they've done already this season, but I know their last game was like a 1-0 draw, so I'm sticking with that. I think New York City have a better team, but I think they're just at a kind of a slump at the moment, where they're just kind of not getting these results in, and it may mess them up for them coming into the playoffs. So unfortunately about that one. So I'll go for a 1-0, and it's going to be on TV too, so it's pretty good. The next one is Vancouver against Sporting Kansas City. Sorry, this is the last one too. Vancouver against Sporting Kansas City. Vancouver, who are 17th in the league, have only won 2 out of the last 8. They lost their last home game. They won their last home game. Where are they? Yep, they beat San Jose 3-0 and Dallas 1-0. So they're coming up against the Sporting Kansas City team, who have a better record at the moment. Let's see. I'll go for like a 2-1 win to Sporting Kansas City. I did think Vancouver would probably do a bit better during the weekend against Seattle, but Seattle actually just basically put them aside. Sporting Kansas City, I feel they'll probably do the same, but probably not as much. So I went for a 2-1 win in that one. Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me. If you have any comments and all that kind of stuff, if you made it this far, thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.